Okay, I'm Bryant Baker, and I serve as president of the Charlotte, North Carolina Central Stake. And just wanted to share with you a brief story about how I got involved with family history work. Even though I didn't join the church until I was 25, I actually was interested in family history when I was in middle school. And we had a project put together, a family tree. And so my dad and I worked on that, and we got as much information on our family as we could. And I put that together, got an A on the project, and I didn't know what happened after that. But many years later, after I joined the church and went back to my dad and started asking him about, our family tree, and he reminded me of the one we'd worked on. And so he pulled out this piece of paper, and he had saved the old family tree that we put together. You can see it. And so this is that family tree that we created when I was in middle school, and he continued to add to it and to put the names together, and so I've taken that and kind of used that as a basis for my family history work. And now that I've used the resources of the Family History Center and New Family Search and the resources of the church, I printed out a family tree several years ago, and it was over 35 feet long and about 4 feet tall with all the names that we had. And so I have a true testimony of family history and of the work of the temple, and say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
My name is Keith Tinkham. I'm a member of the Matthews Ward and Ward Missionary. When I was researching my Tinkham family history 10 or 15 years ago, I found that my great-great-great-grandfather and grandmother were not listed on any gravestone in the Harmony, Rhode Island Cemetery. And so they had a grandson, Martin Tinkham, who served with the Army of the Republic, as it was called, during the Civil War, and he was wounded in Antietam and picked up typhoid from the drinking water around Fredericksburg and died there. When Mrs. Tinkham was about 75, 76 years old, she applied for a pension because her son had been lost, had died during the war, 1863. So I sent a letter to the archives in Washington, D.C. for that information. And in that information, for her pension, along with her grandson, Martin Tinkham, was a affidavit from her with letters of recommendation from the town mayor, the town physician, and one of the town councilmen as to her character. In that affidavit, she listed her birthday, her husband's birthday, and all the birthdays of her sons and daughters and who they married. So that filled in 2 generations for me. And Martin Tinkham was wounded at Antietam. His nephew was Joseph Tinkham, and he served in the Spanish-American War with Teddy Roosevelt up San Juan Hill, New Horse, and his son served in the Rhode Island National Guard for 8 years, and his son, my father, served in the U.S. Army Air Corps from 1940 to 46, and I served in the U.S. Navy Reserve from 1968 to 1996, retired as a senior chief petty officer, and my son Kit, or Keith Ian Tinkham, served 6 years active in the Air Force and 2.5 in the Reserve, and his son Liam is only 2 years old, but he's going to be a Air Force Junior ROTC cadet, so we can keep that lineage going of protecting our country. That's all I'd like to add at this time, and I thank you for this opportunity. Keith L. Tinkham, Matthews Ward, birthday 4/21/44, married to Shirley Jean Wise.
Okay, I'm Don Eves from the Matthews Ward. My genealogy story is about my great-grandfather, Charles S. Aves. We knew him as Charles S. Aves. We searched for him for like 25 years. My mom is a member of the Society of International Genetic Genealogists, and we use DNA to help unravel this mystery. Every avenue we looked at came up empty, and finally, with some military records, she came across somebody whose name was Samuel M. Aves, and we looked at the address, and it was the address he lived at Cameron, Missouri. So that was kind of a hunch, and as it turned out, and this is what my mom was able to put together. His dad died when he was a small child. His mom remarried, and we surmised that the Eves brothers did not get along with their stepdad, and as soon as they could, they all left home. My great-grandfather was the youngest of 3 boys. The older 2 brothers got involved with the Civil War. They were in a regiment from Ohio that fought with valor, and they came home as war heroes, and everything was rosy for them. When my great-grandfather got old enough to join the Army, he was sent to what is now New Mexico, presumably to fight Indians, and spent 2 years and almost immediately got sick, and spent about maybe 2 years in a military hospital. And after 2 years, the Army said, enough of this, and they discharged him. And he just kind of fell off the map then for about 8 years. And we picked up again in 1880. He had moved up to Colorado, or what is now, maybe it was Colorado back then too, married my great-grandmother. And so starting from his marriage, we kept track of him, but at that point he had assumed a new identity, apparently to get past his military experience. Charles S. Aves was a famous judge in Kentucky, and anyway, they moved to Missouri, had a big family and stuff, but we just couldn't trace his genealogy. And then when he was old, he applied for a military pension and was denied. And then after he died, my great-grandmother applied for a widow's pension and was denied. And because the Army denied these claims, they kept every piece of correspondence, every scrap of paper, and we were able to, we knew who my great-grandmother was, and there was no, her identity was clear. And then with the address there, it made a connection with the Samuel M. Aves, and then it possibly fit with a family from Kentucky. I had my DNA tested, and a family from Kentucky had their DNA tested. There was a match, so it confirmed that. And so Samuel, we knew him as Charles S. Aves, but Samuel M. Aves, we established that connection, and were able to continue tracing along that line.